So here we are, just a few days after returning from the workshop where we've been dancing in the shadows for some days now, and we wanted to make this video as a result of doing that workshop and a way to support your work as you take it out into the world, because we've been in a little space where we've allowed ourselves to be vulnerable, to be open, to be connecting, to be receptive, to really be able to explore our natural self beneath the personas and the parts of us that we normally hide away have been seen. And so here we are back in the real world, where it's not so easy to hold that, and we have what I call gremlins that have really hypnotized us into thinking that this is the real world. This is the world that I belong to, and that other world is Cloud Cuckoo Land. And our gremlins are very clever because they have known us since we were very little. They know how to hypnotize us into believing their world. And my gremlins will sit on my shoulder and talk to me regularly and let me know that when I've done something really extraordinary and unusual and stepped out, that it's not safe, to be that vulnerable in the world. And I've kept you safe for this long, and you've survived because of me, and therefore I'm going to speak louder and louder until you hear me. Of course, it's not our natural self. And we need to be able to hear their voice, and that was our work at the weekend. To not dismiss them and say, "Go away, gremlin, I don't like you," but to bring them into the blanket of acceptance and learn to love them, which is all that they ever needed.
And that raises a question as well, as you mentioned at the weekend, about sovereignty and the sovereign and the wise sovereign that lives within us. And where does the wise sovereign live? Not in the mind, as we've been led to believe. The mind is very useful as a servant of the heart. And that's where the wise sovereign lives within us. Hence the importance, as Chris was encouraging us all to do, to go underneath our skin, to go into the body and find out what was happening. So noticing, you remember, step one is noticing what's actually going on under the skin, inside our bodies. And we'll find that we have an awareness, if we slow down a little bit, what we're thinking, and in particular what we're feeling. And that's the domain of the heart. And our feelings are quite key. And I'll just mention that now and say a little bit more about that in future videos. The blanket of acceptance. There's one little extra I'd like to add to that, which encourages that connection to the heart. It'll only take a few seconds. It's just about noticing, first of all, your heart, and then breathing gently in your normal way into the heart. And then one last addition to that is remembering a person, a place, something that's happened that you really appreciate. And just give yourselves a moment to really feel the appreciation. Bring it into your heart and allow it to be there. It might be a glow, a warmth, some kind of pleasant feeling that goes along with the blanket of acceptance. So that's just one little extra that I'll mention now. We'll be feeding in some other extras as well, and a few reminders in future videos.
And for me, the heart is the sovereign, is the king. This is the place where we can be authentic, we can be real, and we can be real with each other and connect from that place. Much research has been done recently, in recent years, about the influence that the heart has on our environment. And if we only go to our head, we become self-absorbed. But if we also pay attention to the influence that we have on our environment, then we're instantly into a different place, into our heart. What impact am I having on others and on the environment itself? And it brings me to a final thing about what does our persona, or what do our personas do with our gold? And we have the two stories of the two kings, and I like to bring in here the story of Lion King, because everybody knows that story. You have the king who takes care of his land and his domain and his people, and you have the pretender to the throne, which is the brother of the king in this instance, who, when he takes over the kingship, lays waste. So who is that king serving? He's serving himself and not his environment, and not his people, and not his self. He's only self-absorbed. And what did his persona do with the gold that was given to him? That actually he took the gold, and look what happens. So what does your persona do with your gold, and are you noticing? And how can you bring that back to your heart?
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah. We'll see you in the next video.